Wow. Let's see if this is going to work. Good morning, everyone. I want to apologize for the technical craziness. YouTube, it's been a while since I've been up on this particular platform here like this. I've been using my phone mostly. And they changed everything, almost everything, since I was on last. I do have my coffee. Let me make one more adjustment here. I'm seeing that there are some definite changes. And I should have known when I turned my camera on this morning. Let's see if that's any better. It's kind of tilted the wrong way. Yeah, we'll just let it go, I think. Pardon me for doing this to you. I must have kicked it when I was moving around. Okay, I think that'll do it. Again, good morning. Yeah, today is the 11th of August, 2020. I'm Roy Potter. Welcome as you come in. The chat is on. And sorry about the false start. Like I said, the last time I was on YouTube on my computer like this using my streaming software, YouTube had it was similar to this, but they've changed some of the things. They had like timing and other things you were supposed to set, and this now they've got it back to where it used to be, to where as soon as you hit stream on your streaming software, it shoots you right to the stream. And I wasn't ready, so I've had to take a few minutes and adjust everything. So again, welcome everybody. Yeah, I do have my Second Amendment cup as usual, and we need it now, and it is caramel cream coffee. So things are going crazy. I wasn't sure I wanted to do this morning. Of course, I always say that. But the reason why I say it is because if you all aren't listening to Nancy Morgan Hart and Monograph and even Dave Hodges, I know all of us, everybody that's out there doing this, because you're not getting it from the mainstream media. What you're getting from the mainstream media, and even a lot of alternative, so-called alternative news, is a lot of hokum and a lot of my own feeling is that most of the things that they're saying is so. I didn't want to say this before, but they are trying to sell their books and keep in good graces. People that have been treating me rather badly. Primarily because I think that they had to show that they were separating from me because of my outspokenness against the Trump administration and against the government across the board, but particularly my stand on the way Trump is and how I view him now and have for a long time. And I think they needed to show somebody that they're trying to impress that they were separating from that line of thinking, and it was a rather nasty way that it happened, but at any rate, that's the case. But anyway, like I said, things are not looking good. High impact vlogs, there are just a lot of people that are telling it the way it is, and so really I feel like there's really not much I can do to add to that. I'm not researching lately, as you know. I've been traveling. I've been doing very little research. All I've been doing is just keeping up on a few things here and there, and that's bad enough under the circumstances. So at any rate, why did I call this NESARA and the Gallows of Lebanon? Well, and you notice I'm in my camo, and I've got my Second Amendment cup. Let me grab that again. It's early. I really do need this, I think. You saw what happened in Lebanon, the big explosion. All kinds of explanations and theories about what happened. None of them are conspiracy theories in my estimation. What they are is, what the hell is going on? What could it have been? I don't think it was an accident myself. I think that it was deliberate. Who did it? I don't know. I do not believe that it was an industrial accident just because they stored ammonium nitrate there. I don't believe it was an accident. No, I don't. Not in the least. One way or the other. But regardless, what's happened now is the Lebanese people, as you all know, have stood up en masse, and they built a gallows for their political leaders. And the political leaders have begged the UN to come in and to protect them. And that's really what the UN is about. It's not about protecting the people like they say. It's about maintaining the status quo. The status quo being the ruling class. Be it in Lebanon, be it in Israel, be it in an African country, be it in the United States. And we see now, of course, how the UN is starting to muscle in on our territory. And it'll get worse. So, what's the point of bringing up the gallows of Lebanon? Because, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we need to do the same thing here. Frankly, just bottom line, I'm just saying it. They're coming after you. And I think everybody's starting to see that. You know, I went to a gun store again the other day. They're cleaned out. Ammunition, guns, everything. But the only thing you can do is buy some parts. Camping equipment, you know, things like that. So everybody knows it's coming. But unfortunately, it's not the BLM and the Antifa we really have to worry about. Oh yeah, they're a problem. There's no doubt about that. But they're just the pawns. They're just the cannon fodder out on the street to get our attention off of the pedophiles and the corruption and the criminality and the sedition and the treason by the people in the government. You see what Barr is doing, kicking the can down the road, and all this is old information, I know. But it's all there. It's all there plainly to see that something big is coming, and it's not for our benefit. Okay? So what are you going to do, folks? Are you ready? Have you been doing what I've asked? Have you been doing what Dave Hodges has asked? Have you been doing... Monograph has even been out there saying, man, you guys better get yourselves ready. Now, how does NESARA fit into all of this? Why am I bringing up that? Well, you know what that is. That has to do with this, you know, they're going to forgive all the debts, you know, the kingdom of God is coming, and you know, all these things are going to be made right and all. Let me tell you something, okay? If you don't get it now, that's the New World Order playing games with you. And whoever promotes it is the New World Order lackey promoting it. Just like Trump is in there pretending to be the marred servant and that he's somehow, you know, God sent to fix us. No, he isn't. Everything he's done, everything he will do is to bring in the New World Order and the kingdom of Lucifer, not Christ's kingdom. Remember, Satan is the devil, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, all right, imitates God. So when you look in the Bible and you see something there, it's got two parts. It's got the evil side and it's got the good side. And the evil side is always going to imitate that and present it to you. They make the future based upon what's in the Bible. Do you understand that now? Do you understand it? You don't have to have a crystal ball to understand what they're doing. You don't have to have contact with God. I would hope that you do. But all you really need to do is know that whatever is in the Bible is a playbook for the devil as well, and he's playing the part. They're making the future. Back in the Garden of Eden, what happened? Right? The serpent came and told Eve, if you partake of this, it will give you knowledge. You will be as God. Right? Someone who wasn't authorized took over what would be called the evolution of mankind. But it wasn't supposed to be an evolution of the physical. In other words, we didn't come from apes or fish or lizards or anything like that. We didn't even evolve from little amoebas or protozoan or however they want to try to present that to you. The true evolution of mankind is in his heart and in his mind. In other words, in the soul. That's where the real evolution takes place. And they're playing games with it because now, what do they want to do? They do want to change your physicality. They are going to inject you and your children with something that is going to make you other than what you are now. And some people might say, well, that's a good thing. No, not in their image it isn't. Not in the image that they have in mind that they've conjured up. So how's NESARA? Why did I bring that up? Because that is the New World Order's idea on making everybody equal. It's not God's way. The devil forces you into his system. Forces you. That's what the war in heaven was all about. Force versus agency. He wants to force you into a system. And you notice everything they're doing. Now they're saying you will get a vaccine. We're going to mandate it. Oh, Trump's not saying that. He doesn't have to. Right? Looks like I'm going in and out of focus here. Sorry about that. He doesn't have to say it. It's like I said, all he has to do is intimate it like he did with the red flag laws, and we see it. We saw a deal come out the other day. If you haven't seen it, I hope you do, is when an attorney, I guess it's in Arizona, he's in Arizona or whatever, said the states do have a right to force vaccines on you, to mandate. You see, it's all by proxy. It's all with plausible deniability on Trump's part. And he is behind this. At least he's given his hand to it. So the devil forces you. God invites you. Do you see the difference? I stand at the door and knock. I don't bust your door down and come in and put my hands around your throat with a gun pointed in your face, telling you you'll do it. With a needle, with an injector. God invites you in. This is evil, ladies. This is not God setting the world in order. That's not what this is, and that's not how it's going to turn out. At least not in the initial stages. God help us that we get through it. And on the other side, we will be invited into the kingdom. But as it stands right now, this is a force. And its object is two things. First of all, to change you into something that God did not create you to be. And secondly, to destroy you and your family, to eliminate you from the face of the earth. God damn President Trump for going along with this. Now, I'm on a roll here too because I'm pissed off at Alex Jones. As I've always said, and I tweeted it out yesterday, anybody has been watching, I appreciate what Alex has done all these years, but what the hell is he doing right now? Because his guy's in the White House, he notice he hasn't even really, he mentions, the mandated vaccines. He mentions all of the background information, but he doesn't blame Trump for it. It's always Fauci. It's always Birx. It's always Gates. Well, I don't disagree with that. But who gave Gates $1.5 billion, supposedly defunded who, which he hasn't really done, by the way. It's not until after the first of the year. If it even happens then, because he won't be there. They can reverse it if Trump doesn't get into office, if he loses the election, gets bumped off here before the election, right at whatever, or he does just lose it regardless in January at the latest. We're supposed to defund who? And it's not going to happen. Regardless, a lot of money was given to Gates and those organizations and companies that are making the vaccines. You tell me, how can he be in bed with Gates and pretend to be against Fauci and Birx and Redfield? It's incomprehensible. Incomprehensible. In Princess Bride, the little villain guy, I forget his name, Vincetti or whatever they called him there. He used to say, inconceivable. Inconceivable. I don't mean to make fun of people with a lisp, but that was a great character. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, you need to go back and enjoy yourselves. That locomotive is going down the track bad right now, and it's coming right at us. And a lot of people know it, but there's nobody in a hall of power anywhere, not even Rand Paul apparently, that's willing to stand up and say no to this thing. I want to know why. Well, it's obvious. They've been told they can't stand up against it or something will happen to them. Look at Abbott in Texas. And I know all this is rehashing the same thing. But why am I saying this? I hope you can read between the lines here. Okay, NESARA is not for you. It's to force you into a system, not invite you into a system. And the only way out of this is the gallows of Lebanon. if you get my meaning, as Montegraph would say. There is no other way out. Not now. And I'm afraid that those people who appear to be constitutional conservatives, God-fearing Christians, and they don't call Trump out for the demon that he is, for the part that he's acting out, are not going to be your friends in the end. They're going to be more concerned about getting into the system on the other side than they are about correcting the problem. And I dearly love some of these people, and I don't want to mention them on air, on the program here. I'll tell you this much: you hear Mark Pantano call their names out quite a bit, and they're well known on the different conservative talk shows and news programs. This is about a personality they're protecting, not the principles that I've been so concerned about for so long. And at this point now, anybody who supports Trump, and I know, who are you going to vote for, Biden, Roy? Don't give me that. Those people out there that always want to bring that up. We've come to the point where voting for the lesser of two evils is not going to fix anything. Now, the other part of this is can we, as men, and yeah, I'm not going to call the women out to do this. You've got other responsibilities to take care of during this thing. Can the men come forward and do something about this? Can they fix it? Can they change it? No. It's too big. It's too powerful. So what's the point? Well, Alex Jones has been right about one thing. We better get right with God. That is what we need to do. And that's why I decided to come on this morning. A couple of people have sent me some things over the last few days, and I don't want to mention their names here because then they'll get harassed. One's a lady, the other's a guy. I get stuff from people all the time, and most of it I can't look at, and then I get people angry at me because I don't respond to them. Well, I get hundreds of DMs, and so I have to narrow it down to the people I follow when they send me a DM. I have to go with them because that's what I need, okay? And I've told people that on Twitter, I don't know how many times, that I'm not there for the social part of it. I'm there for information and dissemination of information. But at any rate, I don't want to get into a big scriptural study this morning, but I'll just put it to you this way. Those Christian pastors and supposed Christian pastors and people that Trump has surrounded himself with are not good people. I'm sorry, they're just not. They have a vision of taking domination by deceit, by trickery, and if need be, by force. They're no better than the Islamic extremists or the Jesuits or any of those organizations. We're in a lot of trouble. So, no, we're not going to be able to fix it, but we're going to have to do everything we can to defend ourselves and hope that there are people out there with the right frame of mind who have those lists that we've talked about and can go after the ones that need to, and so that those evil people can experience the gallows of Lebanon. But I'm afraid that too many of them are going to think that Trump is the answer, and he's not. So, people probably wonder why, Roy, why don't you say Zionism? Why don't you say the Israelis? Well, I said all of those things, okay? They're all vying for this thing. They're all part of the problem. I'm not afraid to talk about it, so don't start accusing me of that. So at any rate, Nancy Morgan Hart has been knocking the ball out of the park here on every video she's made, well, for a long time, but especially in the last 3 months. Uh, Dave Hodges put out a thing this morning. I saw it. I didn't get a chance to look at it, but Operation Mountain, about taking your kids. And don't think that that isn't part of the program, because it is. So you need to go listen to that. And of course, Mark Pantano tells you about the constitutional issues, as does Chris Ann Hall. Frankly, if I were you, I would give a pass on people like Dan Bongino, Sean Hannity, Sarah Carter, all of those people that have been telling you that all these great things are happening, and all this information that they have underneath that they get from their sources, and almost none of it has come to fruition, but it's kept you in a state of hopium. They're as guilty of that as the Q movement. And they will not call out Trump. And that I find reprehensible. Because the commander is responsible for all his people do and fail to do. And I don't care what his excuses are. And if he can't control it, if he's a good guy and he can't control it, but damn the damn system. The country's gone anyway. If he's doing it because he's worried that it's going to cause craziness in the country, well, where are we right now, President Trump? No, President Trump, you know exactly what you're doing. Just as I said, you have placated the base, the conservatives, while you helped to let this thing slide into place. And here we are. And he talks about the vaccine and the respirators. Oh, he makes such a big deal about the respirators, that we're the best respirator producing company in the world. Well, that's something to really be. Well, I guess he really can't pat himself on the back for much else right now. So I guess he'd have to say that one. The thing that's actually responsible for killing so many people, not helping them survive. And if we know that, why doesn't he? Well, he does. He has a different agenda than he's told people about. And how do you find out what it really is? You watch what he does. And what he doesn't do. So yeah, you need to be looking with a jaundiced eye at anybody who talks about NESARA and the reset in a positive manner. I'm not saying that the old system is good. It is not. It is not good. It has been unfair. It has been criminal, ungodly. But God's not instituting this thing. No. In his you will be invited in, not forced under any circumstances. Oh, he'll let you be trampled, run over, if you're not following his principles, because he withdraws his spirit. That's why he told, in the Old Testament especially, and even Jesus mentioned this, but in a different way, call the Assyrians down and rip up the nation of Israel and take the 10 tribes away because of their iniquities. Oh yeah, he'll withdraw his spirit and things like that will happen. But that's not God doing it. That's God withdrawing his protection exactly how he says it. He doesn't force you into anything. He invites you. And if you don't go, well, you weren't paying attention. If you didn't hear, you weren't paying attention. Jesus warned about the destruction of the temple coming. Okay, and who would do it? Had an interesting exchange last night, if any of you follow me on Twitter, with Colonel Joe. He's quite the scriptural scholar. He really is. I think he knows history pretty well too, but I think I startled him and a lot of other people last night talking about, he brought up Judas Iscariot. And if any of you have read my book, The Crimson Thread, or know about my study of Hebrew and the entire situation around the 1st century BCE and up through about the 2nd, almost the 3rd century CE, you'll probably guess about what I was discussing with him. Probably rattled his cage a little bit. He asked for sources, and I might add, Colonel Joe, if you were watching this, that history isn't looking at dates and names and using those as the sources. You have to do an in-depth investigation. you have to draw information from many sources, just like you do in intelligence. Then you use basically a decision matrix to determine what the most likely thing is. And you use good sources, of course. But it's not like grabbing something out of one source and that gives you the whole answer. You've got to look at the whole picture. And for those of you who want to know, Judas Iscariot just means Judas the assassin. He's also the same guy as Judas Sepphoris, and some other characters that are mentioned in Josephus. And that's as far as I will take that. I don't need to go into any more detail on that. So that's really all I wanted to bring up. You got to be ready. You've got to make the decision in your mind. At what point, when they cross the line, are you going to take the stand? Come hell or high water, come life or death. What is that line that you're going to take? The military is going to distribute this vaccine. That's using a force, suggesting force, without actually using it, but suggesting it. Now, Monograph has done a great job. I want to give him some credit here as well. He found out that the reason why all these different nations are making their own vaccines, their own inoculations, their own immunization, supposedly against this virus, he's now found that there are several different types. I want you to, rather than regurgitate the information to you that he put out, I don't want to do that because he's done the work. I want him to get the credit. So go to his channel and look at it. It's the one with the king, the king piece from a chessboard on it. That's the one you want to watch. It's about an hour and 40 minutes long or so. You don't have to listen to the whole thing, but you need to understand what he's talking about there. The reason why they're all pushing for this vaccine is the identification system. Now, he takes it to the point where he says that it's ownership, that they want to own, and they want to own you. So, like, after you get this thing, and if you go to China, they'll know that you're an American by being able to scan you. A lot of people say, well, this is just the next step in technology. What's the big deal? It's, at first it was your face and your fingerprints, and then it became, or in addition, your dental records, and then it got to your driver's license. You see the progression, and now you won't have to carry anything with you. You are your own ID. Well, that's real nice, and that's how God works, but not like this. Again, the difference is force versus invitation. And if they say you can't have a job, that's still force. If they say you can't go into a store without it, that's still force. So go listen to Monograph. He found, I guess when he did the initial investigation, 2 items were not there that were there when he went back and he looked at it after his presentation. They added 2 things, and I want you to go listen to that. The point is, the bottom line is every nation is doing their own thing in this so that they can ID. Now, I thought that was a little odd because the idea is to break up the world, right, into a one world government, but they're still going to have government areas. They're still going to have in their whole schematic of things, they're going to have power centers. Okay, so that will be by geographical location. And the bad thing is, of course, that it's actually makes you more of a target that way too. But I don't want to get off on the weeds on that. So the bottom line is here, go see Monograph. He'll tell you about that. You'll be shocked. And he's got it right on the money. He absolutely does. So they are all in on it. They are all in on it. Somebody is in control. If it's the AI or whoever has stepped up, I don't know who it is personally that is behind all this. And there is an individual. There is this evil force from the other side that is guiding this. Because, as Alex Jones has said, I'm going to give him credit here, we've killed how many innocent babies? We've caused how many wars? We've stolen how many widows' houses for not being able to pay their taxes? We allow these people on the streets to beat up people and to kill them, and we do very little to stop it. We overindulge in entertainment rather than doing something. And in those days, talking about our time, and in those days they shall be lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. They're wearing their masks because they want to have the pleasures. I'm not saying they don't need to go to the store, but the big thing is here, what? We can't have any more ball games. You can't go to the bar. You can't get on a date. You can't do this, you can't do that. Unless now you're wearing a mask and then you've had your shot. So the people are willing to trade their God-given liberties for entertainment. Bread and circuses, just like the Romans did. We just entered a new level. Or as Marie Antoinette said, right? Let them eat cake. My coffee's getting cold. Would you all give me just a minute here? I do need some more because I am going to chat with you a little this morning. Let me play something for you. Let's have a little break. I think I've still got it on here. Let's hope so anyway. And I think this one's very apropos. Let me play this for you. You'll recognize it if you've been around me for very long. But it's apropos right now. It goes along with this. And I'm not saying to do anything offensive. I'm saying you better know what the red line in the sand is. Because when they come for you and your kids, you're going to have your decision made before then. And hopefully you can get out of the way before that. I still hope that there will be a governor somewhere that will say, my state is a state of refuge. I will not permit them to do this to you. Come and gather here. Now, they probably won't live very long. But the real thing that we have to do is we have to beg God that this is the time we need you. We have to depend on Him. We have to. We have to beg Him at this point. Because when we had a chance to get Him easier, we pushed Him away. All of us did. Okay, I'm going to go warm up my coffee and I'll be back. Well, watch this for right now. All right. You get my meaning, as Monograph will say. All right, I went and I heated this up. I think I may have made it too hot. Let's see where we are. Yeah, a little too hot. But that'll last us now. The adversarial relationship between Trump and the deep state and the Democrats is to disarm you. All right? It's to distract you. They are all in it together. Oh, I'm not saying they don't hate each other, because evil people want the prize and they are willing to fight each other for it, but it's not for your benefit. I hope you understand that at this point. If and when they take Trump out, it's not a verification that he was a good man, that he had your best interests at heart. They will sacrifice their own. Look at Jeffrey Epstein, although he's probably on an island somewhere. As a matter of fact, I think I told you, somebody had a picture of him sitting on a porch or whatever, and I think it was in Santa Monica. I don't know if that's true or not. That could have been an old picture, or who knows what. But he was either murdered or he's enjoying life somewhere in a secluded spot. One of the two. Okay, he didn't kill himself, as everybody knows. Trump even finally said he questions if it was a suicide now. Well, he questions it. And Barr, of course, is silent on it. Durham basically is done. They're not going to do anything, like I said, maybe on Kleinsmith. But at any rate, if they take Trump out, that doesn't verify that he was the great president that he calls himself and that so many people who follow him in the cult of personality believe. His actions prove otherwise. The two big ones, and I mean, there have been a lot of things. Two big ones. At least three. Hillary's good people. That's a bad one. I could name a bunch of them, but these are the three big ones, okay? The red flag laws. Take the guns first and then do due process. Of course, along with that is he still goes along with, what's that called? I didn't have enough coffee yet this morning, obviously. Anyway, when they take your property without due process, whatever it's called. Sorry, I'm having a brain cramp there. And those two things together. And then pushing the Gates program, which is what he's doing. And it might be that Fauci falls to the wayside, right? As part of the plan to make it look like they're doing something. I don't know. But Trump's in this with Gates. No question in my mind whatsoever. He's out there to give you this vaccine, which isn't a vaccine at all, as we now know. Or if it is, it's also loaded with all these other things. Proverbs 11:1. Read this. I think I'll do that. Let's take a look. Proverbs 11:1. Hope you guys don't mind. When somebody suggests something like that, sometimes I'll do it. Let's just see what it is. Proverbs 11:1. And then we will do a little bit of discussion. Proverbs 11:1. Let's see how that's... A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. All right. Oh, that's good. Okay. Remember, God doesn't force you into anything. He invites you. It's the devil that forces you. So anytime you see this, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. You have control over your own body. It's your and mind and spirit. You get to make that choice. The government no longer can be allowed to make that choice for you. Oh, they'll force it on you. But you need to stand your ground. This is an abomination that's going on right out of Proverbs 11 right there. Okay, let's see what y'all got here. Yeah, 9/11 cover-ups still going. Tony Barbera, that's true. Trump and Fauci was leaving June 2021. Well, that's going to help everybody, isn't it? He hasn't got the guts to fire him. If he can't, he ought to have the guts to have somebody arrest him, but he won't. Soros is still walking around. Known. Now, it's been proven that he's the one that's not just funding and training, but setting up these things, these communist, Maoist, revolutionary organizations. And nobody goes after him. Who you can't touch, that tells you a lot about him. And people say, well, there's somebody above him, and there very might well be. But the point is, we see what's going on. If I were Trump, I'd say, damn that. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. We're coming after you. But he won't. That's another thing. Alex Jones. Trump's taking the gloves off now. He's the real deal. What? He's coming after him. They're worried. They're scared. Really? I don't see it. Do you? I don't see it. I see people saying they are. I don't see that they're scared at all. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. I mean, the DOD's, who has he got great people in the DOD that we don't know about? And on the other side, or mercenaries, or Michael Flynn's digital warriors. Oh, they're going to do a lot. We have an army of digital warriors. Oh, well, that's just great. And again, like I said, I'm very suspicious that a guy who was supposed to be our top spook in the DIA could get taken down this easy. If that's our intelligence apparatus, we're in a lot of trouble. I don't mean to come down on him. I mean, the man's been through a lot, but I do not understand this. I do not. I'm going to be a little out of focus here because I'm having to get closer here. All right. What's this here? Sorry, I got to check something here. I'm not sure what that was. Oh, man, they've changed all kinds of stuff around here. I knew something was up when I came on to the... When I came on, some things just weren't right. They were all different. And, man, I'm seeing all kinds of weird stuff on here now. I hate it when they do this. To them, it's, I guess, making improvements. But to me, all it's doing is just making it complicated. Makes it so you have a hard time next time you come on. Like this morning, right, when I had the false start. Okay. Yeah, they're showing some weird stuff to me here that I don't really need. Okay. We've been going for almost 45 minutes. Let me keep looking at this. Fauci has way more power than Trump does. Trump's president of corruption of biz of slaveholders, of which U.S. people are slaves. Trump Jesuits oath taking. Fauci has. Well, I don't think Fauci has the real power. I mean, this argument that Trump. What? There, fixed it. Hi, Nancy. I see you're here. I'm not talking about much this morning. I've talked about your uploads, but I'm not giving any earth-shattering information here, other than the intimation here on my title. Okay, let's see what. You guys have it all figured out. You're doing a good job here. Thanks, Nancy and Edelson, for throwing those people off. I don't even know what they were doing. I've had so many trolls and things over the last few days. It's been crazy. I'm not going to look. George Johnson, thanks for the Proverbs 14:34, but I think that takes too long for me to look up and read. Sometimes they're applicable and sometimes they're not. Gary Hines, we should file a class action lawsuit against Gates and Fauci. Well, that'll never go anywhere. I mean, if there's no reason why Gates and Fauci and Soros haven't been arrested already. So if they're not going to do it at that level, I don't think that, really honestly, ladies and gentlemen, it's coming down to where it's going to be your red line. And this is not going to be pretty, because what they're doing is they've sent the distraction, as I said earlier, the distraction to get you away from the pedophilia problem and their corruption in that regard, and what's going on with the vaccines and the New World Order and the mark of the beast, which was really what Trump has been about. Trump and everything that's been going on is to get your attention off of what they're really doing, which is what's about ready to happen. Okay, like I've said, we're not going to have many people on our side. We're just not. I talked to some neighbors. One of the things that I've been doing is, you may know, is I've been talking to some professionals, police officers, soldiers, and some just neighbors and regular people. There's talk, but there's no will. There's no will at all. Now, I've said, prep, pray, stay out of the way. You don't want to fight, but there's going to come a time, I promise you, there's going to come a time when it's not just going to be the distraction of Antifa and BLM that's knocking on your door. Those are the cannon fodder that they're sending at you right now to wear you out. And I've talked about the similarities between that what's happening now with everything that's gone on, with everything they've thrown at you, with the Fulda Gap in Germany, where we had American military forces on the Fulda Gap on right there where the Russians were figuring we were figuring the Russians were going to come through, and we knew the order of battle. And the first group that was going to come through were the I'll just call, I don't want to insult them because now they're doing pretty good. And I brought them into NATO. I was one of the officers that brought in Bulgaria into NATO. Believe it or not. I get a kick out of people when they say, "Oh, we looked up Roy's military background. He's not who he says he is." All right, whatever. But the Bulgarians at the time, their equipment was crap, rusty. Most of it didn't work. The soldiers weren't trained. They couldn't even shoot their AK-47s. I mean, I saw it on a range. They had a range officer. I was up there watching the Bulgarians on the range, right, shooting. They couldn't hit the targets, but the targets were dropping. I'm going, what the hell's going on? So I went up into the tower and stayed up there. And now that the tower guy who's operating all of the stuff on the range knows that I'm watching him, he's not putting the targets down. And now you can see they're not hitting anything. So those were the types of soldiers that the Russians were going to send through to a little bit of attrition, to take out some of the American forces and to allow these cannon fodder to prod and probe the American lines. Well, that's what Antifa and BLM are. You see what Nancy Pelosi's doing. She's outright talking about removing Trump, right? And so that makes Trump good to most of you people. Remember, they're just opposing mafiosos. Neither one of them have your interests at heart. Bottom line. But the real target is you, not Trump. It's you. And Trump admitted that almost a year ago. He said, I've come to realize that they're not after me, they're after you. They tell you, right? We've talked about that. They have to tell you what they're going to do, and they've done it. And Trump tells you you're going to get the vaccine. And he's doing it by proxy. He's still funding it. He knows about HCQ, hydroxychloroquine. He knows about it. Yet he's still pushing the vaccine, the respirators. I think his name's Michael Jonah on Twitter, and he put out, he says, so Trump is funding all this stuff and he doesn't know really what's going on. He's either a buffoon, incompetent idiot, or he's complicit. And I go along with the second one. Yeah, good cop, bad cop theater. Most people say they can't do that. What do you mean? They've been doing it for a century, right? They've been doing it for a century. Yeah, they're all the gangs fighting for their own territory. That's exactly it. And they don't give a rat's ass about you. As a matter of fact, the more of you they can get rid of, the better they feel. Because they know. They saw what's happening. They see what's happening in Lebanon. They see that those people built those gallows for those politicians. And that's why this entire security grid has been set into place. It's not to protect you, not even from the Chinese. It's to protect these damn politicians and corporate leaders that you see that they're having fear in Lebanon now because of the gallows being built. They're trying to keep you from doing that to them here. And frankly, they all deserve it. I don't mean us, I mean them. Better know what your red line in the sand is. I saw Spiro. He's on Twitter. He's another one I like. He's done some good work. Well, I better not go on that one. But at any rate, he said, "I'm not taking the shot. That's my line in the sand. That's the hill I'll die on." Remember, God is not force. God is invitation. The devil is force. I know you know all this, Geronimo's Bones. I know. I told you, I've been on vacation, and I'm going to go on another one. Okay? So I haven't kept up the way I'd like. But I did want to emphasize that this is not going away. This is not going to get fixed by the election. It's not going to get fixed, in any way, shape, or form. They're coming for you, and you had better be ready to know what your red line in the sand is. That's all. I just needed to put that out this morning, and to talk about this whole thing about the reset, and that there is a group of religious leaders and some others that are saying, that this is a good thing, and that the Christians there that are advising Trump are there for nefarious purposes. If he was serious, he'd have somebody like Chuck Baldwin in there, or maybe even Franklin Graham. I'm not even sure about him, but certainly not the ones they've got in there. Thomas Kuss says, Veterans Today is a good place to get info. Well, sometimes that's true and sometimes it isn't. I've been taken down the primrose path a couple times. I'm not saying it was on purpose, but again, you can't use just one source, but it's a good place to go to get some information and to factor it in, like when I do my historical studies. You take information that might be questionable, but you filter it in because it might have an impact. Okay, so you do that. JFK Jr. is Q. You're going to make me put something else in this if you keep that up. Will voting fix this? Rolf Steiner. No. If voting worked, it'd be illegal. We've lost the ability to change, to have a peaceful transition of power and to have the people change what's happening in the government. That was taken from us a long time ago. The deep state isn't just the bureaucracies. It's the people they put in to run for office. Trump lied to you. And everything that's happened is manifesting to that fact. Yeah, no, I don't. I used to think that it was still right to go out and vote. I'm not voting this election. I'm not. I finally realized that this is all a joke. I wanted to believe we could change it. I wanted to have trust in the system, but there is no trust in men. We need to. The balkanization of the United States is probably going to be a good thing in the end. It's sad because I don't know how our God-given rights are going to fare through that. Because I don't think any of these new governments that are going to be coming up are going to be friendly to our God-given rights and agree to support them as part of the charter for their existence. That's bad. But breaking up the United States at this point, I think it has to happen. Steve Pachinik has talked about that a little bit. He's talked about we don't need Congress or the government. We don't even need a president anymore. Everything should just come down to the local level. We can do it that way. And I agree. But again, the question is it going to be done by force or by choice? By invitation or by force? Yeah, voting is the desperate cries of the slaves for mercy. Ed Grott, boy, I'm afraid that's the way it's turned out. It was a nice idea, but it didn't work out in the real world. I don't know who said that. Something tender. What will it take to get the silent majority to do something? It's like I said earlier. It looks like they're going to choose entertainment, right? I like that. Okay. I see more scriptures. I'm tempted to address those, but I better not. This election is not going to make any difference, and that's going to infuriate people on the right by saying, "Oh no, we got to go out and vote. We got to get Trump back in office." You better just get yourselves ready, because it's not going to matter who's in there. They're all on the same page. They're just playing a game with you. Tyler G., you want to revisit the statement about one person behind this? I don't know who that is. I said it's been about a month ago now. I said he's here. It's obvious. And I told you about the three things that I was looking at. The Pope taking away, refusing the Vicar of Christ title. What's happened to the royal family in Britain. And then Trump. Okay? And now we see all the nations scrambling to do this, as Monograph has pointed out, to get their own vaccine. They're listening to somebody. There is someone who's come through the veil, who's come through CERN or whatever, and inhabited the AI, or there's a man who, like Eric Schmidt, where is he, for instance? Where is Eric Schmidt? He went off to China and was helping them do all this stuff on the social credit scores and all that. We haven't heard squat from him. You think they killed him, or is he the guy? I don't know. But that's a good question. There is somebody who's tied into this AI computer. They're chipped, and they're like a god. Just like in the Garden of Eden, you will be as gods to know the difference. To know the difference between good and evil. You will have knowledge. You will be as the gods. That's what they've wanted, but they wanted to do it by their program, not by God's program, which is preferable to me. Okay. Yeah, where's Eric Schmidt? He could be the guy. I don't know. But there is one guy. There absolutely 100% is. Because they're all on the same page. All these people are all on the same page, even when they pretend not to be. He'll probably, and I also mentioned he'll probably reveal himself before late September or by mid-October is my guess. Thanks, guys. Yeah, look, people who complain about what I say, it's just like I said, I invited you here, okay? I didn't force you here. So if you don't like what's happening, go somewhere else. I didn't put a ball and chain on your ankle. I didn't put handcuffs on you. I don't have a gun to your head, okay? So if you don't like what we're talking about, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. And I'm not forcing you to go, but you don't need to be here if you don't like what you're hearing. Red heifer. That's in Geronimo's bones. You know about the red heifer, huh? Yeah, they apparently have one. Yeah, I know. I don't want to go down that road right now, though, but thanks for bringing it up. Shows you know something. Walter Velradsky, 9mm and 5.56 is extinct in Grand Junction, Colorado. That's pretty much everywhere. Yeah, that's pretty much everywhere. And I think it's happening in two different ways. One is I think that they're closing down a lot of these things, right? For instance, the NRA is getting sued or getting attacked by the New York AG right now. But Soros, I guess, bought up Marlin Firearms, I heard, and then closed it down. Did you hear about that? It wasn't Soros himself, but his surrogate. Now, Marlin was bought by Remington, I believe. And Remington kind of went under too. So, yeah, they're all the supply lines, not just weapons and ammunition. Look at your food supply. The same thing's happening. It's all happening everywhere. That's why I say this NESARA thing's not a good deal. Sorry, it isn't. God's a God of abundance. All right? And this NESARA thing is a pretense at abundance, and it's not. It's not that whatsoever. Yeah, the NRA is kind of a front, Edelson. You're right. I was yelling at the NRA back in the 70s. I recognized that they were off on the wrong track back then. They were talking about hunters' rights, right? And I wrote to them, I said, that's not what the Second Amendment's about. That's not about hunting. You got to stop saying that because that's bad. And they stayed on that mantra for a long time. So, no, I agree. Yeah, I feel, I don't trust most of the people in the NRA. Anyway, there's some good people on the board, but by and large, they're pretty ineffective. There are other groups that do a better job. Rock Tumbler, the Jews hate Obama, so we know it ain't him. Well, don't bet on that. Nancy Pelosi's pretending like she hates Trump. Thanks for keeping up with these folks asking questions, Nancy. I appreciate you telling them. Yeah, Montagraph. Okay, well, we've been going for over an hour now. I won't keep you any longer, but I did want to bring up, and again, read between the lines. NESARA, not a good thing. The Gallows of Lebanon, that's probably where we need to go. But they've built a whole system up because they knew that you'd turn to this eventually, just like they are in Lebanon. So they're trying to protect themselves, and they don't care how many of you they take out in the process. They're hoping they can get this vaccine thing in. I'm sure it's going to interface with whatever they've been spraying in the sky, what they've been putting in your water and in your food. Certainly in the minds of the young in our educational institutions. It's all coming to a head. You know, the scripture says, no man, Jesus was talking and they asked him when it would be. And he said, no man knows the time but my Father in heaven. Well, a lot of people that were evaluating this thought that everything was still 10 years down the road, right? Even Alex Jones. When you talk to people that say, oh, the program is 2030 to 2050. No. It came as a thief in the night. It's here now. Know what your line in the sand is, okay? All right. I'm going to let you go. I want to thank you for being here today. And I am going to be hitting the road again, believe it or not. I'm trying to get as much traveling in as I can before they really clamp down. And it's risky, I'll tell you. You got to make sure that you have your exit strategy in place before you go somewhere. Because if they shut the country down and don't allow you to go across borders, you've got to have a plan about how to get back home. So before I go, I figure out my avenue of escape, my exit strategy, okay? And that's what I'm really working on right now. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Please go listen to Nancy Morganhart's presentations that she's put out this last week. Very important. Mark Pantano's been hitting on some good stuff. And Dave Hodges is hitting some good stuff, too. And I know as I said, I don't follow Dave, but, every once in a while I'll see stuff that he puts out, and I appreciate it. And by the way, I was interviewed a week ago Sunday by Dave, and it was really, he's a very good interviewer, I got to tell you. I got to give him some kudos here. He didn't interrupt me at all. He let me just go. You know how Alex will say, you have the floor, and then he interrupts his guest like every 30 seconds. Dave's not like that. He'll ask a question, and he lets you go all the way through and take as much time as you want. I was very pleased with the way that he gave me that opportunity. It's a lot of the same things that we're talking about here, okay? It's not a whole lot of different stuff. He asked me about my background. I told him about my personal history, and I'm sure most of you know that, but we talk about it on Dave's show. I think you'll find that interesting to some extent. But at any rate, he said that he was going to try to get it up, and then I guess he came out the other day and was telling everybody that they had technical difficulties. And I believe that, by the way. Like I said, YouTube changed the way this thing works. It messed me up this morning. But I've also noticed that there's a lot of jumping. Even when I have an excellent internet connection, there's a lag. There's, the sound doesn't match up all the time, like that last video I did here just, yesterday or so. So there's some real problems at YouTube. So I don't doubt that he's not having some problems. I'm sure he is. But at any rate, he said that it would probably be up on his website today. So it'll be on thecommonsenseshow.com on YouTube today, I think. So at some time, I think it'll be up today. So you can go listen to that if you want. Okay? All right. That's all I'm going to do. I know, the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure, so I'm going to go. And I got to heat my coffee in already. So have a wonderful day, and please go listen to those folks I was telling you about. It's really important that you have in your mind. When a police officer or a soldier enters a situation, they have to know before they get into it what their line of action is going to be when they get to that phase line where the decision has to be made. And you've got to know that in your mind right now because they're coming for you. All right. Let's see if I can get out of here without making too many mistakes. Okay, right there. All right. One man show. I'm a little out of practice. It's been, 2 weeks maybe since I've done this on this setup. All right. Thanks, everybody. Keep yourselves up to date. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground. Yes, Antifa may come to your door. BLM may come to your door. If you're outspoken at all, you're probably being watched. I don't mean to make you paranoid, but you just got to figure that that's the way it is. Keep yourselves armed and situational awareness on high at all times. Okay, we'll see you later.